I told you, same hour, same channel, same bad time. Just kidding. God bless you. I pray that you guys are doing well. This is kind of part two of my prophetic dreams that I've had, and I just kind of want to document this stuff. I want to get it out there. I want to begin to really start to look at, because God's speaking to me now about the significant role of the state of Florida in my life and my wife's life, and I'm going to give you guys just a brief background and just share some things with you. I got married around in 2005, in November 2005. Um, Went on my honeymoon here in the state of Florida, and nothing significant happened. Just enjoyed. God allowed me to be blessed and being married and enjoying that and the honeymoon. But we came back to Florida like 2 years later. It was December of 27, and we were going to usher into the January thing. And while we were here in Florida, seeking God, God spoke to me in December of 27, and this was the time. This was ramping up for the presidential, the new presidency. Bush was coming out. They were looking, and I had this dream. And in my first night, I had this dream, and while I was in the dream, I was standing on a front lawn, and I've told this to a lot of my friends and some of the coworkers I worked with at the time, so they can validate it for you. But I was standing in this dream with a good buddy of mine, one of my best friends. His name's Alan Fox, and we're sitting there, and this black limousine pulls up, and in the limousine, George Bush jumps out, and he walks over to us, and he says, "So who are you guys voting for in this year's election?" Well, I didn't know who the candidates were. I didn't know anything about it. I really didn't. My mind was so focused on serving Christ and the church, that I just have really kind of disconnected from any political things. And my buddy, out of nowhere, it just seemed like it popped up out of his spirit. He said, "Obama." And I'm like, "Obama? Who's that? Who's Obama?" I never met the guy, never knew him, never heard anything about him. And George Bush looked at us both and he said, "Well, if that's it," just he started to walk away. And as we started to walk up onto the passenger side of the car, he was walking up because he was in the driver's seat at the time of this black limousine, this stretched out limousine. He looked over the top of the roof at us, and he said, "Listen, we're all in this thing together," and just chuckled and sat down on the front seat. So me and my buddy, we then bend down, and when we're bending down, we look in the passenger window, and the window rolls down, and Hillary Clinton, she's sitting in the passenger seat, and she has this angry, violent, just rageful face, and she's like, "Well, if that's what what it is, it's what it is. So be it. If that's what the people, that was her demeanor. She was angry. She was upset. She was very just, oh man, I'm just like a rage within her that people had decided to choose." And at this time, I was like, okay. So we turn, and I go to look back. I look over her shoulder into the back seat of this stretched limousine. And in the back, there was a figure. He was a man, and he was sitting there, but he was clouded in a dark cloud. And this has got nothing to do with his race, so don't hit me up and saying that's all it's a racial statements, racial tones, this or that. No, it's not. It was just his face. I could only see his hands, and I could see from his knees down, and I could see that he was in a suit. I could see that he was just sitting there, kind of like with his arms up on like this kind of pompous, pious kind of like arms stretched out on the back of the seats, like he was the king of this car, like he was running everything. But there was this dark omnipresence around him. I mean, it was dark clouds, and it felt very demonic, and there was just a lot of like evil presence around this man. And I woke up, and I was like, okay, whatever that was. So I went out and I told my wife, I said, I was writing it down at the breakfast table that day, and I said, "Listen, man, this guy Obama's going to win. God just spoke to me in a dream." She was like, "Who's Obama?" I was like, "I don't know." So I said again to God, I said, "Lord, if that's really from you, give me another dream. Speak to me." Very next night, I had another dream. I was standing on stage of a Benny Hinn conference, and while I was there, this guy, he looked like Benny Hinn, but he could have been a representation of Benny Hinn. So I'm standing there, and this guy is calling down these supernatural powers from the heaven, and they were coming down in almost like silver orbs, and as they were dropping down, they were energizing this man, and he was energizing the crowd, and it was like, that's this power. They were in silver orbs. It was the creepiest demonic thing like that I've ever saw. And the man goes to walk off the stage, and literally he just starts levitating down to the ground. I mean, walking on thin air down from the stage down to the ground. And the people were all amazed, and they're like kind of awestruck, and they're following this guy, and they're running after him. So I take off running through the crowd to get to the other side of this huge crowd. I'm running. And I get to this area where it looks like it was kind of quarantined off. I don't know if the guy that Benny Hinn was walking to get in there to get to the back of the stadium or whatever. But I get up to this kind of guardrail fence. Those kind of like security gates at the arenas they had up. And there's security guards standing there. And this guy's yelling. He's like, "Wake up, people. Wake up. Wake up." He's like, "Don't you see you're being deceived? You're being deceived. Wake up." And immediately, the security guards grab him and they start trying to drag him to the back. Well, he kind of pushes off of them. Benny Hinn walks into this area. The guy grabs a gun from the security guard. He points it at Benny Hinn and shoots him right between the eyes. In this dream, he shoots him right between the eyes. And the guy, Benny Hinn, just falls over. Just falls over dead. And I'm like, God, man, is this really you? This is going crazy. What kind of dream is this? Everything's just out of control. And the crowd's just like, ah. So the guy, he's looking at me, and he's dropping the gun. And he's like, "Wake up, wake up, wake up. You all are being deceived. Wake up, don't you do it." And right over his shoulder, I looked behind him, and I saw Benny Hinn raise up. And he just took his hand like that. And when he did, the wound was gone. It was healed. And he walked over to the man, and the man just kind of looked at him, and he laid his hands on the man, and he said, "Now you will be endued with the spirit of Jezebel." And it was just like, and like he was transferring something onto this guy, and very powerful, demonic. And then I woke up, and I was like, now that's, wow, okay. And I came to the conclusion that God had shown me the rise of a world leader and the rise of a religious leader. And at the time, I'm not saying that, I'm not saying that Barack Obama is the Antichrist. He could be a forerunner. He could be a John the Baptist to the Antichrist, just like John was to Jesus. He could be America, the spirit of Antichrist to America, the new Pharaoh. I believe that God had spoke that to me, that there was going to be a Pharaoh that will arise in our land that knew not his people. I believe Barack Obama fulfills that prophecy. As in Exodus. But anyway, so then we flew home. I wrote those dreams down, flew home, and I started going to work, and I started telling these guys that were like diehard Republicans. I remember I was working at Sun Cellular. Guy, his name was Mike Ekman, and I was talking to Mike. I said, "Man, that guy Obama's gonna win." He was like, "No, he's not. Nobody knows about him." And Mike was a Republican. And I said, "I'm telling you, God showed me, God spoke to me, this guy's going to win." And I think it was greater than just being a race thing. It wasn't because he was the first black president. There was literally, if you go back and remember, there was such a spirit of deception, a spirit of madness. It just kind of came and swept our country. This guy was rocking like stadiums, like a rock star. I mean, he was like the greatest thing since sliced bread at that time, and people were just caught up in the hype, and it was no longer about true discernment or wisdom. I mean, majority of the church was just caught up in the hype and the ability to do something. But I kept telling him, "Man, this guy's going to win. This guy's going to win." He's like, "It never happened." Well, February, Super Tuesday came. He swept it, and then he swept 28, I think it was 28 straight victories after that. And the only other person standing in his way was Hillary Clinton until she conceded. And when she conceded, and she was very angry and mad that the people have chosen him. So, why do I say that? Because that was all in December, January of 2007. God gave me those two prophetic dreams. And what I see now is the rise. We saw the rise the last 8 years of this leader and what he's doing to transform our country and our nation, and how he's just now immigrating all these Islamic people that just hate Americans in. They're coming in from droves of all over. And not even that, his just intentions towards Christianity. That's the thing that bothers me most, is that he just is very wicked towards Christians. and towards the God of the Bible, towards the Lord Jesus Christ. He makes mockery of him, and just tries to make a sham of him. But so God spoke to me, and 7 years later, which was December of 2014, we were down here, and God spoke to me again. I knew that God was going to speak to me. I was excited about coming to Florida this time. We were driving down. We were kind of going through some rough things up north where we were at. Just kind of living in this beat up, raggedy trailer, and I was just like, and we did, God was doing something. We didn't understand what He was doing at that time, but He got us down here and He spoke to me. I sat down. He said, "Son, I just want to talk to you." And he said, would you be willing to move to Florida? And I said, why? And he wanted to give a gift to my wife because my wife had always wanted to move to Florida. It seemed like it was never the time. And so I said, yeah. He said, I wanted to bless her. I wanted to give her, and I can use you wherever you go, your ministry, and what I'm going to do through you. And so I've remembered that. I remember what God has said. And by February of 2014, we were here. Yeah, we were here. By February the following year, we were here. Was it 2014? Yeah. So He spoke to me December of 2013, almost January 2014. Yeah, I'm trying, but it was almost 7 years to the date. That's how He spoke to me, 7 years to the date. Amazingly, what God can do. But we're here. We're here in Florida, and I believe that there's some things coming to Florida. I believe that which started in the Lakeland revival. I believe there's going to be a new sweeping of a revival that comes across the Central Florida and Florida. I believe God is not done in this area yet. I believe there's a remnant of people that He wants to still save. He wants to change. And yeah, we need to prepare. We need to get pressed in. And I just want to encourage you that these dreams that I have, these things that I share with you, these prophetic visions and dreams that God's given me, they're to encourage the body of Christ that God still speaks to us. And you out there have probably had many. You just haven't written them down, or you just haven't allowed God to process them for you. So get a pen, get a paper, start preparing, start waiting, start seeking God, start writing down what the Lord is doing in your life, so that you can have the intricate pieces. You might have the intricate puzzle. You might have the word from the Lord for your area, for your state, for your nation, for your generation. Be excited there, son and daughter, oh man and woman of God. Get it out. Get it on the paper. Tell your story. We need to see many people come to Christ. Let's do this. Let's get it out there. May the Lord bless you and keep you until I see you again and put out another video. God bless you. This is Minister Richard Murray, Work in Progress Ministries.